Sakay kami ng river cruise sa Chicago.
Architecture the fair was done in was this beautiful Greco-Roman style, this kind of neoclassical vibe, what's called the Beaux-Arts. Beaux-Arts, you're talking French for beautiful arts. The beauty of the Greco-Roman style that was part of the fair of 1893, it found its way into Chicago's first skyscrapers. Our first building is way out here to the forward right. See beyond the trees that nondescript brick building? That is the Vogue building. Look just past it. See the afternoon sun casting its light on that off-white building with the beautiful Greco-Roman columns that you see atop running along the western face? That's a building by Burnham, the guy who did the fair. It encompasses all that we remember from the fair with regards to the columns, the Greco-Roman vibe. Note that that building there, simply called 175 West Jackson, it's not particularly tall by today's standards, but you can appreciate how that stone building stands as a behemoth, right, over the brick buildings that predate it by about 15 years. Moving right along, look just past those lovely columns atop 175 West Jackson, you'll see a taller limestone skyscraper that draws your eye to the top with what are called ribbon windows. That's our beloved Chicago Board of Trade. You've now shifted out of the turn of the century and you're in the 1920s, 1930s. The skyscrapers got taller, of course. They got rid of a lot of the textured stone and gave us that smooth vibe. The setbacks atop there at the CBOT allow for more sunlight to infiltrate the city, and the statue on top of Halliburton and Roots, Chicago Board of Trade. Now watch as you move from the brick and then the Beaux-Arts and then the Art Deco style. Watch how I shift you now into the mid-century. Think about how there was not development in the 1940s. Everything went to the war effort. In the 50s, 60s, and 70s, the world was given modernism. Dark black boxes, right, for corporate America. The father of modern architecture is a man named Mies van der Rohe. He was from Germany, believed things like less is more, form should follow function, so they built these corporate soul crushers for about 3 decades. Here's a fabulous example of modernism. It happens to be one of the tallest skyscrapers in Chicago. Excuse me, it is the tallest skyscraper in Chicago. It's the 23rd tallest building on planet Earth. Take photographs and enjoy the dark black box here with the big white antenna atop. You know it, you love it. It is the Sears Tower, yes. It is now known as the Willis Tower. And that's interesting, you know why? Because nobody calls it that. Those are fighting words in this town. That's right. The Sears, or Willis Tower, was designed by Bruce Graham. Bruce Graham worked with the firm Skidmore, Owings & Merrill, or SOM as they are often called. The tower stands 1,451 feet in height. It was the tallest skyscraper on the planet from 1974 to 1996. You can go to the top of it, enjoy the observation deck. If you look closely way up on top on the western face, see those 5 glass boxes? That's called the ledge. Have you been? Visitors can walk out onto those boxes. Nothing separates you, and over 1,300 feet down, but about 3 inches of glass. Go on their own on the upper floors. And I have just enough time to do this. Why not? You guys are cool. You're into it. Glance to the right. See right there the red and pink granite, the octagon-shaped tower, the bundle tubes, the big tubes up on top of the building. See how nothing about 311 South Wacker Drive there is a dark black box? In the postmodern era, after they had 30 years of dark black boxes, in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, it was all about material, color, things of that nature. Note how only 2 of the 9 bundle tubes that make up the Sears actually go all the way to the tippy top. That was all invented by an ingenious engineer from Bangladesh named Dr. Fazlur Khan. His influence or motivation, the way he demonstrated how bundle tube construction would work, was being in a meeting here in Chicago with SOM, a guy who again went on to do the Sears. You can appreciate how these are the precursors to what could become a Sears Tower. And I love the view here as we make our way north on the south branch. Look out there to the forward, you'll see a clock tower atop a brick building from 1914. There's 2 massive brick buildings over there. They're old warehouses that Daniel Burnham had built for the Butler brothers. They were a mail-order catalog company. If you shift to the right of that clock, look how overwhelming the Boeing headquarters is there. The architectural spire atop the double-faced clock. You'll see the Boeing symbol. That's from 1990. As you gaze upon it again in a moment, remember we talked about a lot of texture, color, and materials after they got rid of modernism? That one's got a lot of stuff going on. It's overwhelming. And then see the 13-story portion that's closest to us? See the trusses that sit atop? Those 5 trusses up there act as a cantilever system that hangs and suspends the building up over the rail tracks that run beneath that building. In fact, on the southwestern edge of the building, after the Sphinx in Egypt. Say what? Yeah, hang on. Hang on. These annexes at the extremities, those are the paws. The building is the lion facing the river. So why Neo-Egyptianism on this Art Deco building by Halliburtt and Root? In the early 1920s, archaeologists uncovered King Tutankhamun's tomb in the Valley of the Kings, right? King Tut's tomb had not been ransacked. The gold and things that he was buried with were still. Note the facade. It has a texture that mimics the Chicago River water. The little waves that are made on the building are done simply with what are called spandrels. These fins or blades that run vertically, they pop in and out to give you the illusion that light is reflecting off of water. But you're very tall. Watch out for Lake Street. We're going to duck our heads here as we clear this beautiful bridge and have the cameras out. Wait till you see the view here as this bridge covers saloons, churches, drugstores. We're all right here. The first 300 residents that called Chicago home in 1831 lived along these very banks. And it is the confluence of the 3 branches of the Chicago River. Now prepare to be amazed as we casually cruise by another brand spanking new structure here. This one by Pelly Clark. Here's the neat thing about the base of the building. The way the building folds into itself, or is kind of tapered at the base, that's the very same pattern that way on top of the building, it retreats into the sky with the setbacks. The angles, the fact that it looks like a big fin or a big blade kind of quivering there in the wind makes that new office tower very special. Do wander down and see what is actually by Graham, Anderson, Probst, and White. The thing's got 4.2 million square feet of space. There are 7 miles of hallways and corridors in this building, and it sits on a 3-acre plot of land. Joseph P. Kennedy used to own the merchandise marks. People like Air Montgomery Ward, Huntington Hartford, Julius Rosenwald, and 3 other guys. Massive setbacks as they reduce the mass on top for more sunlight, right? That's another building by Halliburtt and Root. And because the LaSalle Wacker building, and this is subtle, not a lot of folks know this, as we clear the bridge on the right, see the beautiful glass on that new tower, 111 West Wacker, we call it the One. See halfway up on the building, the party deck that's carved out for people who live there to kick it and be more awesome than myself. They built the party deck on this new luxury rental note at the exact same level of where the setback is on the neighborhood. Seemingly innocuous, it does not jump out at you, but that's the idea where these buildings are actually having a conversation over time. Different though the styles are, of course, right? One style begets the next, they are linked, they are related, people borrow from each other. They go see the elevator banks in there, the Art Deco elevator banks are folded, there's a lot of stamped metal, neat features, the Merchandise Mart, Chicago Board of Trade, the Carbide and Carbon building. Do check those out as far as the interiors go. Now, some folks in Chicago will tell you this is their favorite building. It happens to be the skinniest skyscraper in Chicago. Here to the forward right, just past these guys, you'll see what we call the Gothic Rocket. Look at that slender tower there with the white glazed terracotta. That is our beloved former Lincoln Tower, or Mather Tower, today called 75 East Wacker Drive. It's a business hotel. Skinniest high-rise in the city, white glazed terracotta, that you'll see more clearly here just past the bus there on the right. Very fragile. So fragile is white glazed terracotta that I pronounce that word that way. Under this bridge, do please watch your heads, check on your neighbors. Please to enjoy the 3rd of the 4 double-decker Bascule Trunnion bridges here in Chicago. Beautiful limestone, the verticality, the Art Deco vibe is jumping off of the Tribune Tower, but note this, at the base and cornice, French Gothic revivalism. Can you appreciate how you have the concept that was used to build the first skyscrapers? That's an award-winning design. 260 entries came in for the Tribune Company when they asked the world in 1922 who can design the most beautiful building on the planet for our downtown Chicago office. Howells and Hood out of New York City. They were the winners. Go see the Tribune. It just got redone. You know, because the guy who designed it, Harry Weiss, he was a sailor. He served in the U.S. Navy. That triangular shape to him was reminiscent of the sail of a sailboat. The Swiss Hotel, as we go by it, here on the right, see how it even looks like the bow of a ship as we cruise by? 621 luxury hotel rooms. Due to the orientation, you can't get a bad view. Please do take in and grab photos of what is now the 3rd tallest skyscraper in Chicago here to the right. That is the St. Regis. We do get a better view of this tower later, so I shall come back to it. You all trust me to wait? All right, trust in the first third of our journey. Okay. When they sold off all the parking spaces to those who lived here at Riverview 1 and 2 in 2005, the parking spaces here were $50,000, 140 to 750 feet in height. The other one about 940 feet. Two new massive luxury towers will be built here on the site of what once was going to be the Chicago Spire. It would have been 2,000 feet in height, 150 stories tall. The recession of 08 and 09. The way to go from Lakeside to Riverside and vice versa. And because my mom's mom, my grandma Betty, was in the Coast Guard for like 30 years, I point out the Marine Safety Center, there to the forward, home to the Coast Guard, Marine Police, the Conservation Police. Telling the vessels that are in there they can now proceed from it here onto the river. You can see that water pushing in from the lock. 1938 they built the lock. Beautiful views on our lakefront, folks. Over 24 beaches. Make your way to a beach here in Chicago. Oak Street Beach, North Avenue Beach, Fullerton Beach is more quiet and chill. Chill at Fullerton, party at North Avenue. And as you leave the lakefront behind, I hope you're struck by this canyon of skyscrapers we get to scurry through. And as advertised, as promised, here to our left, friends, you might want to go check out the Lakeshore East neighborhood. It's lovely. There's parks and gardens back there. The aforementioned St. Regis. This tower, the third tallest in she has won awards for her work. This is the biggest skyscraper project ever built by a female architect who also owns her own firm. Indeed. The structure looks like a bunch of hourglasses stacked atop each other, folks. Those are what are known as frustums. The four buildings that make up this structure, because they are offset from one another, give you those shadows. Guess what? Those shadows change shape depending on where the sun is throughout the day. Feet tall. The second tallest skyscraper here in Chicago, 1,389 feet in height. Because a Chicagoan designed this skyscraper, and because this stuff is special to us, obviously, note this. Each one of the setbacks on Trump Tower are set at the heights of neighboring buildings, referencing the Wrigley Building, the Corn Cob Buildings, and 330. Lovely Beaux-Arts building, harkening back to ancient Greece, ancient Rome. That is the London Guarantee and Accident Building. See the Corinthian-style columns there at the bottom? See them repeated up top? See how this limestone building, friends, is made of three parts? The base, the stacked flooring, and then more fun with the structures. Another great example of contextualism, and actually a downtown favorite. Folks, from 1983, there to our forward left, 333 West Wacker Drive, designed by Cohn, Pedersen, and Fox, that mimics the green river water and the blue sky it reflects. Polished marble and granite at the base, all that stone at the bottom of that skyscraper. It's French. Bascule could mean seesaw or teeter-totter. Trunnion is like that pivot point wherein the weight and the leaf are balanced. And again, Wednesday, Saturday in the morning, you'll see bridge lifts in the spring and fall as the sailors come out to Lake Michigan. Crazy to see all this cleared out, folks. It did not look like this end of last season in October. Lise, yeah. Lynn's my older sister, Michael's my younger brother. That's right, you guessed it. I'm the not so well-adjusted middle child. I need your attention. Laugh at my bad jokes. No, that's cool. Seeing all of them tomorrow with Mom. It's gonna be good. And then here it is. A vertical lift bridge from 1914. What you think happens, happens. The bridge will climb up those stationary towers under the weights, the chains, the systems. It's amazing. It still operates and will go up and down all the time. And unlike the bridges that we've seen in the city that only open for the sailors beginning and end of the year, Wednesday, Saturday, any day of the year, for an icebreaker, a sailor, whomever, you could read, sit in the shade. Very nice to see activity on a lovely Saturday here in Chicago.
Ping Tom Park.
We cover more of the river.
This is going to be the Chinatown of
these boats don't always
Chicago.
come down this far south. That's
They're going to
captain who
build
got
a lot
bored.
of buildings and
He
park
asked the deckhands,
here
asked
on
the
this
docent, do you want to go to
side, right
Chinatown?
side.
Yes, we do. But we're always down here. And that's because we offer this stunning view of Chicago from the South Loop here in Chinatown. breathe it all in. We've seen the Sears, the Trump, we saw the St. Regis. Folks, look just past the 18th Street sign. See the black tower with the white antenna that's just to the right of Trump Tower? That's over 2 miles away from us, the John Hancock building on North Michigan Avenue, the 5th tallest skyscraper in Chicago.